On this episode of In the House, Mr. Doug Cameron of Render ATX stopped by to have a chat about social media use. We talked about our own struggles with spending too much time on the little black box and some ways to limit your screen time. We talked about the upsides of not being dependent on your device and what that can mean for your family and your health. If you like this episode, please subscribe, give it 5 stars. Thanks for listening. Upgrade your construction layouts with trademarks. These heavy-duty vinyl markers are designed to withstand harsh job site conditions. They're durable, waterproof, and perfect for marking locations for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and more. Available in trade-specific colors, trademarks make communication with your team simple, professional, and reliable. Whether you're recording benchmarks, elevations, or centerlines, trademarks ensure your layouts stay intact, even under heavy traffic. New customers enjoy 15% off at checkout. Visit trademarklayout.com to get yours today. Well, hey, Doug Cameron, I appreciate you coming on. I wanted to, a little bit different episode today. I really wanted to, I wanted to get to know you. This is the first time that I've met you in person, so, I'm excited to meet you, and thank you for coming on, by the way. So I wanted to get to know you a bit, and then honestly, I wanted to dive into a topic that I think a lot of people struggle with, if I can be honest, which is social media use, and just addiction to, and not just social media, but even just being on your phone in general. I mean, it could be anything. But again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, Lonnie. Thank you. Thank you for doing this podcast. It seems like a very good thing for our industry, especially locally here. So I wanted to do your podcast because I know it's not the largest podcast, but it's local to me. And I always appreciate people that are in my region trying to do something positive for the industry. And, I'm more than happy to support it. And hopefully I can bring some value to you and your listeners out there.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Well, if you can, give us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am a born and raised Austinite,
nice.
So I could talk forever about that, but I won't. I've lived in a bunch of the local neighborhoods that I get to have the pleasure to build homes in nowadays. Nice. So that's, one of my passions for sure, kind of laying down the next epic homes within those neighborhoods. And being part of that and, kind of leaving that as my mark on the city and my company and my family's company, our mark. And I just so much enjoy driving around with my kiddos and pointing out houses that, mom and dad have built.
That's really cool.
So that's very special to me. I, after high school, went to Southwest Texas State University, and now it's called Texas State University.
Okay.
And I majored in applied sociology there with a Spanish minor.
Okay.
Yeah, coming out of that experience, I really couldn't have told you what was inside a wall, right? So building is something that came pretty much immediately after college to me. I had a buddy I was playing semi-pro football with. I almost went back to school and tried to actually play tackle football with Texas State. But
really?
But anyway, I ended up doing something different.
That's cool.
And I had a buddy I was playing defensive back with out on the semi-pro team, and he had started building for Lennar Homes, a large production builder.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a living, but I always knew I wanted to be my own boss and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So, like many of us, I was just searching for some skills to do so, right? And so I saw my buddy Justin Montgomery. He still does construction this day. We still play football every Wednesday night together.
Really? That's cool.
Our team's actually undefeated. Shout out to Blaze right now. We're 5-0, best team in the city right now.
Fantastic.
And so I rode around with Monty. I cruised around one of these neighborhoods, one of these Lennar Home neighborhoods. And it was like the freaking Wild West. And, the horse was his little Honda Accord that he had. Yeah. And we got in and, I just got to see him getting outside. That was a real key dynamic for me. Like I was not about to do the office gig, 9 to 5. That just seemed like hell on earth. And I wasn't going to have that. So, I've always been really into nature and the outdoors and everything. So I was like, oh, dude, thank goodness. Like I can breathe, Yeah. And cruised around these neighborhoods. I saw him, rap a little bit in Spanish. And him and I had both gone to Intensa in San Jose, Costa Rica, and that's where we learned Spanish. And I actually took it a step further and got my minor there. So I went for 2 summers.
Wow.
And lived with Costa Rican families. And so I was like, oh, Monty's speaking a little Spanish out here. I was like, I got some Spanish to throw around. And anyway, so I went and applied for the job. There was a guy named Seneca Silkinson at the time. He was the head dog that I had to go apply with. Real cool guy. And, I just kind of told him, hey, I'm here to build some houses. This is what I'd like to do. I'd like y'all to give me the opportunity, give me the training, give me the tools. And I'm a sponge. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to go really hard with it. And they hired me for the warranty position, right? It was, at the time, a really good intro into building houses. Yeah. And the market was pretty stable at that time. This is, before, this is like around 06 or so, 05, 06, like, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And market was solid, rock solid, stuff's really moving, a lot of production building going on. So they really needed outstanding, young people to come in and kind of be schedule monkeys for them. And, we didn't really have to know that much about building. They kind of had it figured out just with their model. Yeah. And so I jumped in head first, and I knocked the warranty position out of the stinking park. Had a really good mentor, a guy named Art Villarreal there that was in my job trailer, and he was one of the older dogs, and he encouraged me to use my Spanish, and he told me, hey man, those people out there will really respect you a whole lot more if you actually speak to them in their native tongue. All the workers, it was their native tongue. And so shout out to Art. Thank you for pushing me to use my Spanish. And so I did so. And I was just knocking it out. You got paid basically kind of based on your performance there,
sure,
both with the warranty and with the building. And so, they ranked us and everything every month, and I was always right up there at the top. And frankly, it became really easy for me. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, hey, what's next, guys? What's next? Like, I'm ready to start building the houses. And so there were multiple people in there in the exact same position I was, and they wanted to do the exact same thing. They were all over the city, just kind of waiting to get into that builder role. Mm-hmm. And I beat every single one of those guys to that builder role, and I got that next position as builder. Nice. The first build was a guy named Billy. Billy helped me out with the first build. It was one of his projects, mm-hmm. and my area manager at the time, Gary Grayley, he decided that he was going to, stop me from bugging him about building houses and finally freaking give me one. So he gave me a house to build because I would not stop. I was relentless. I was like, dude,
the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
I am
buddy.
here to build houses. Come on, where is it? Where is it? And so I jumped in, I started building that house with Billy, and I was kicking butt on that house. And then all of a sudden the economy just went to shit, like hell in a handbasket, like rapidly. And I could see the writing on the wall there, and I was like, oh man, this is not looking good. So I started to see people kind of fall off, mm-hmm. the more experienced folks that had the higher salaries and everything. But me, I was newer. And so then they kind of came to us collectively and said, hey, there's a bunch of changes. And, anybody who's in warranty, that's going to be a career position. And then all the builders, we're going to work with some of y'all. Some of y'all are going to have to go. There's not going to be as many jobs available. Dang. And I was right there in the middle. I was the one guy in the whole company that was kind of a neophyte, if you will, right there in the middle. And I kind of could have fallen on either side of the fence. And you know me, I wasn't about to fall on the warranty fence. And I was like, I understand, what y'all are saying. I went up to the head of Lennar up north, sat down with them, and said, hey, I need to talk to y'all. I came here for a reason. These are the things that were told to me as far as how I was going to get to this role. I've done everything. I've exceeded all expectations. I've taken on the additional workload. I performed highly at building this house. This is what I want to do, and hopefully y'all allow me to do so. Yeah. And they actually said, you know what, you're right. And so they put me as a builder and immediately gave me I don't know, I think maybe they started me at 19 homes. And then, within about a month or so, I was building 25, 27 homes at a time. And so I did that for like maybe another year and a half or something.
Mm-hmm.
All in, I was only at Lennar for like 2 years and change, all in with everything.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
And then it started to get really nasty there where, I mean, it just became ruthless, right?
Yeah.
Because it was almost laughable how ruthless it became. And they were just trying to figure out how they could save costs in any way possible. So again, it was the older guys, because I was young and I was excelling there. They didn't have any reason to fire me or let me go or anything like that or make any excuses.
Yeah.
So they just kept handing me more and more houses, and I was like, "Holy cow!" So one day I was in a like Butte Kyle neighborhood, and I was in my Doc Martens. Like I had this, I don't know, like I had this desire not to wear boots like pretty much my whole life. And it's funny because I have a bunch of family who are cowboys and stuff and like really good horse people, and they wear boots all the time. But
right.
I was always a tennis shoe guy,
Yeah.
And so I was in these kind of like Doc Marten boots that had no grip on them, and I'm walking up a frame or walking down. I guess I was walking down the frame, and like I totally slipped and busted ass and hit my head, the back of my head, and probably like got a mild concussion. And it was like, they say blessings come in many different ways. And it was just very much a wake up call to me. And like, my head was ringing, and I was just like, holy cow, like what's going on? Like, I'm just running like a freaking chicken with my head cut off in all these houses. And like, I'm looking around me and I'm seeing the vibe and the energy and the experience. And I'm just like, man, and it just hit me. I was like, I can't keep up this pace. Like, this is unsustainable. I know I'm doing it right now, but if I stay here, I'm eventually going to start failing, because it's just, there's something not right going on with this. And so I started a company called Cameron Construction in July of 2007.
Okay.
And that was the last time I ever worked for anybody else, other than my clients. And we're sitting here in 2024. And I feel extremely blessed and extremely grateful. And I owe a huge debt of gratitude to all the people who helped me along the way. But most importantly, my wife. My wife was the stable side of our household in terms of financially and professionally during those rough early years, especially considering I was going into a horrible economic time for the home building industry, for really just the building industry in general, right? Because money was drying up and people were not able to achieve loans, so projects just stalled and stopped. And my wife's named Lily, and thank you, Lily, for doing what you did to make sure that we could build this business out and allow me to have some failures along the way without having to pack up shop. There were some times when I really needed to get another job. And so it was kind of like, okay, do I go get the Home Depot job this week? Do I go get it? How am I going to handle that with trying to maintain the face of this business that I'm projecting and trying to manifest and put out there to the world, and just really trying to make it be like a real thing that I was in business. We started bootstrapped on credit cards, and I mean, that was it. No loans from anybody, no outside money. And instead of ever going for the Home Depot gig, I started painting and like large abstract paintings. I had a buddy named Stephen Condon who owned a bar at the time called Canvas Bar and Gallery downtown. He was a fraternity brother of mine, a little bit older, real fun guy. And he taught me in Canvas how to stretch canvas on a frame, how to build my own frames. We'd do it with these little just hand saws, right? And then we'd get L brackets and screw them. And he's like, yeah, that's how you do it. And so, after that, I got like way better at making canvas frames than he ever could imagine, just because I had all the cool tools, and it became like something, related to building. But anyway, thanks for that, Stephen. And what I started doing is I started doing, I always have been into art, and you've seen I put myself out there as the artist builder.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm very proud of. And ever since I was a little kid, my mom had me, doing arts and crafts, and I've always been really good at it. Formal painting, formal training and stuff like that outside of just my high school art teachers really didn't ever have any of that. And so, though I love to draw, but I kind of put all that away during college and just kind of had the college experience. But once I got out, I was kind of really like looking for like, who the hell am I? What am I into? And what's going to be fulfilling for me? And like doing stuff that was creative is really what called my name. So, I need to make money. Like, how do I kind of wrap all this into one thing, And I already had the construction business and everything, but I was like, I'm going to freaking like do this, but do it in a very artistic manner. I'm going to figure out a way to bring all my creative juices out into building. And kind of around that time, I met a guy named Jay Billig just sitting down at the city of Austin permit area one day.
Yeah.
And Jay was a kind of design build guy. And so Jay taught me how to speak the language of art and use the elements of design in conversation with clients. And I would watch him and the confidence that he projected when interacting with clients. And it was very interesting because it wasn't like he was asking the clients what they wanted to do. It was kind of like he was speaking on his recommendations of what he thought they should do.
Sure.
And they were super receptive to it. Not only were they receptive to it, they desired it.
Yep.
And I was like, oh man, that's it. Like, that's unbelievable. How the heck do I get clients like these? Yeah. And then, I wanted to start wrapping in all the sustainability stuff that I was into. I read Healthy Child, Healthy World, which I don't know if you're familiar with it. Do you have kids?
I do. I have 2.
Okay. So, I didn't have kids at the time, but I wanted to learn all about toxins in your environment. And so this whole Healthy Child, Healthy World movement was all about the relationship of chemicals in our environment to small children, being that like they're down on the ground. So like a carpet, if it has these chemicals, they're a lot closer to the carpet than we are. Also, their body is growing more rapidly. So they're going to get like multiplied times of damage in their body than we will because they're growing so fast. So everything's like revved up a notch. And so I wanted to figure out like how to tie all this stuff together in a package that involved the artistry, that involved the vibe, the energy, the elements of design, and the health and sustainability. And I wanted to just be an expert at bringing that to people and kind of teach them a way of life, if you will. So did that. Also around this time, I guess it was literally that same day when I fell and hit my head in the Lennar home community. I was talking to a quote unquote, it was a green cabinet maker that a cabinet guy that was installing out there had given me the number for, a guy named Jeff Mitzel. And so I called this Jeff Mitzel dude. I talked with him, and then he recommends that I go see if I can get this gentleman named Matt Reisinger to mentor me. Because I really didn't know that much, right, about actually building.
Right.
So I reached out to this guy named Matt Reisinger, who I didn't know who he was. And Matt Reisinger was super gracious and a big help to me. And he really helped me knock out my first ever like project estimate. I just went to his office, met him, introduced myself. He was a nice guy. He was a one-man show at this time. And I guess he was working on like some spec homes. Maybe he had just started getting into the custom game too. Yeah. And he was just super cool. And he gave me the confidence that I could do it. And that if I needed to reach out to him, call, email, gain some contacts, whatever, that he was willing to do so. So I was kind of armed with that. Then I had this relationship with this Jay Billig guy, who ultimately we ended up kind of going in together on doing design build projects where he allowed me to maintain my business. And but he went and got the work, and I just went in and worked with some guys that he had, a couple of guys named Neff and Pedro who spoke mostly Spanish. And then, I kind of brought some of my trades to the table and just kind of mixed it all up and started to get these higher end remodels in these nicer neighborhoods with good clients. And then eventually kind of led to the next steps of me doing all of those things, but just straight up for my own business, right? Right. And so at one point in time, I changed the name from Cameron Construction to EcoSafe Spaces, And then I did EcoSafe Spaces Design Build, then it was ESS Design Build, and then eventually transformed it to Render ATX. And the render means to help, to create. And so it's kind of both of those things. Yeah. And to do it for Austin, Texas, right, which is my home. Yeah. And so I really like that name. I made my dog Ziggy, who's passed, the main kind of
I've seen your bumper
trademark
sticker. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ziggy's all over everything. And to me, Ziggy was just had this relentless pursuit of greatness, right? Like I would be on my skateboard with Ziggy. He'd pull me down the road. He'd see these other dogs barking and he would just look and he would run faster and faster. And Ziggy was just somebody who would just never give up. And so he's passed, but whenever I need to like dig deep in a moment that's challenging, I just kind of search inside my heart and I speak with Ziggy and I'm like, all right, Ziggy's here. Like I can do this. We can do this. Like I will never give up. Ziggy would never give up. And then that kind of led also to the hashtag, the best, not the rest, that I like to really throw out with Render. And occasionally there's been moments where I didn't really want to apply that hashtag, where I just didn't feel like our company was the best, where maybe we had moments where I didn't like how things were going. I didn't like, something going on with the structure or something.
Yeah.
And so for quite a while now, I've been applying that hashtag again because I believe in it. And it's not to like take away from anybody else or anything like that or put them down. It's just simply to state that we have a relentless pursuit of both perfection and excellence.
Yeah.
And I know that perfection is unachievable, but if we don't reach for it, we're never going to get close.
I agree.
And the excellence is just something I want to be a part of. And I know that it magnetically draws other people in to be a part of it as well. And that is the type of energy that I want to be a part of in every aspect of my life.
Yeah, I agree. And I like what you said there about excellence and perfection. I view it as like excellence itself is like the pursuit of perfection. Like perfection is a target that you aim at. Like you never quite get there. I mean, it's impossible. Excellence is like living your life in a way in pursuit of perfection. So I agree with what you said. I think that's great. And it's, man, all of this started with just a bump on the head, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but also an independent mindset, I
agree.
I really didn't want to, and again, it's not knocking anybody who goes and works for anybody else. Like there's pathways for everybody to get where they want to get. But for me, like that's just not something that I wanted to do. And I'm sure it's associated with like how I grew up and different aspects of my childhood and my life and probably like my astrological signs and, all kinds of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But for me, like I just wanted to be my own man. I wanted to be my own leader. Yeah. I just wanted to be freaking independent. And I didn't want to have a quote unquote boss. And I knew that, going back to my sociology training, I knew all these things were going to require me to be an exception to the rule to achieve those things. Yeah. So I rapidly chose an aggressive mindset and approach to always create the exception to every rule that is out there that would limit me or stop me from my pursuits.
Yeah. And, and I really like everything that you've said. And I followed you on Instagram for a while. And you always struck me as the kind of person who's very, self-reflective and somebody who's very driven and determined. I mean, just that kind of brings me into my next topic, which is, social media. And it's a way to express yourself, artistically. And the fact of the matter is that everything now is on social media. I mean, it's a way to market yourself. So, it's not only, it can be used as a tool, right? It can be a benefit, but it can also be a huge time waster. So, given your artistic background, I know you really like to have fun with it. The stuff that you put out is entertaining and it's also informative. You can learn a lot from it. And you had come out recently and said that I guess it had all come to a head, and you had this realization, reflecting on it, that it was just getting out of hand. What was it that struck you? What made you stop and think, hey, this is getting a little out of hand? So
I started social media on or around 2009, 2010 in relationship to my building business. And it was always something that was a good thing for me. I straight up just imitated what I saw with Matt Reisinger in the very beginning, right? Like he was a wonderful model. He was, one of the first to do it, especially with YouTube and stuff. Just kind of go purely like educational and say, hey, I think this might help somebody out there.
I agree.
And so I just did the same thing, but kind of in my own way, right? I tried not to like completely imitate him. I tried to kind of find my avenues. But I did it and I started putting stuff out there and I started to utilize it to build out my business and kind of create some professional accolades. Along that kind of path, I also got a bunch of accreditations. Like I became LEED accredited. I, became, what was it? I don't know, like somebody who was into all the home building performance and energy stuff where I could do blower door testing. I don't even remember. Some sort of certification that I got many years ago. But anyway, so I needed some feathers for my cap because I was a newer, younger builder. And, I wanted to get those good jobs and garner those good positions. So that's partially why I started social media. And it was very good for me. And I also learned to use social media to manifest and also like share visions. So it was very enjoyable for a period of time because I use it artistically, right?
Sure.
Where you can tie in, especially now, you can tie in music and, the whole nine. And like, I freaking love that shit. Like, like creating an image and conjuring it up quickly and, playing with all the new fun tools and then producing that and sharing that idea, that visual, seeing if I can actually take that from my mind and put that on the little glass box for everybody so they can all see it. And then when we see each other in real life, they're like, oh, dude, like I totally like connected with what you did. Like, that's so freaking cool. Like, I see what you see and I get it, dude. Like, and so that was the purpose and that was a goal. And I was really successful at it, you know? So, and then, it all kind of jumped off for me in a good way when I did some of those Zip 2.0 videos with Reisinger on YouTube. And like, at that point in time, I really got my following to crank, like really high for me. It's at like 11,000 something followers or whatever. It's nothing crazy, but I have a good following of a bunch of people that are in the industry around the entire country and in this city, important people that I want to network with, right? And I want to share ideas and thoughts with. So all that was great. All that was fun. And then, then social media, not only did it just get harder, but it also started to feel like a chore. And on top of that, it became straight up an addiction. Yeah. Right. And so I started to catch myself periodically focusing on social media more than my actual job. Yeah. Like, that's real, and people probably don't want to say that out loud that often, but I bet a lot of people feel that way.
I bet so. I mean, I find myself struggling with it too. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I do think it's something that not a lot of people want to admit out loud, but that they do struggle with. So
yeah, and look, I did put out there, I don't know what year it was like a year or two ago. I was like, I want to become one of the top 10 construction influencers in the country. And then I think I set my goal to top 5. So to do a goal like that, to achieve something like that, like, you've got to invest some time, you got to work hard. So all these things I was doing, like, I was doing them with a purpose. I was never one, frankly, to get on and just scroll a ton on social media. Like, it wasn't my thing. But like you and I were talking before we got on, and like I shared in that post that I put out that grabbed your attention, what I absolutely was doing was this kind of reflex of my phone at any given moment when I wasn't like actively doing something, of pulling out my phone and looking at freaking Instagram or looking at my YouTube studio and looking at stats and stuff. So kind of one of the biggest things and problems that I noticed is it wasn't about like the posting. It was about the caring about all the data and all the statistics regarding the posts and trying to get those constant dopamine hits of how many people like my shit. And it's so stupid and so embarrassing, but like, it's so real to so many people.
It is.
Yeah. So that's kind of what went wrong for me. And so again, in terms of like balance, I felt like I had become somebody who strives for balance, try to be, very spiritual. Like I put my own spirituality number 1 in my life. Then it's my family, then it's my business, then it's my friends, right? So in that order. And so as somebody who really strives for this personal balance, looks at themselves as somebody who, is Zen and all those things, like, man, I was just becoming a shell of myself. And I felt like it was taken away from every aspect of my life, right? It was taken away from me. It was taken away from my workouts. It was taken away from my job. It was taken away from my family time. And, like, sure, I would have, I got a few like reels that have 1 million views or whatever, but like, honestly, who gives a shit? Like, who gives a shit about that? Like, maybe I could get some branding deals or whatever, but like, when I looked back at what was going on in my life, I realized that my priorities had fallen out of balance and out of the order that I wanted them to be in. And so I knew that it was time for a change. And so I made that post really kind of soul searching on what and how I wanted to handle social media moving forward, because, I, like all of y'all, are able to look down at your phone and see how much time you spend on it. And I mean, I just was like sad when I would look at those numbers. Yeah. Because time is the most precious thing that we have on this earth, right? Yeah. The money and all that, like, it sounds good, fame, notoriety. But, I've come to a place where I just don't really covet those things anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the money is just kind of like, I want enough money, but the fame and notoriety and all that, like, I could care less. I could care less if you're famous or not.
Yeah.
I care about real relationships with real people. And
that's good.
And so that's what I wanted to be about. I wanted to be balanced from the inside out. I wanted to find my chi again, my aura. And so for me, I was like, all right, what's one of the first things that I can knock off here? And it was all the editing. Like, I have so much of like a library of social media to put out. I mean, I can't even explain to you. Like, I have so many YouTube videos to put out that just are sitting in my Dropbox folder.
Yeah.
And I could be doing all kinds of things with them. I could be getting brand deals. I could be monetizing. I do that, this, that, and the other. But it just takes so much time doing all the edits and doing all the stuff. And sure, like, I could find somebody to handle all that and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, I just kind of had to ask myself, like, what do you really want? And I realized, you know what? I don't want to be a top 10 influencer anymore. Like, I don't fucking care. I just don't care about that. I really just do want to be really good at my job. Like, I want to be a really good builder. I want to be a really good husband. I want to be a really good father. I want to be a really good friend. I want to be a really good person. I want to be really balanced. I want to be a leader, an example to other people. And I just was not doing those things. So I came out with that post, and, you know, the kind of the title of it was, make social media your bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I believe we should be attempting to do with social media. And I don't mean that in some, you know, way where I'm trying to just curse and like be outlandish or gain attention or anything. Sure. What I mean is we should be using social media to our advantage and to our benefit in a way that it's useful for us without it robbing us of our freaking lives.
Yeah. Everything you said is 100% relatable. And I'm sure everybody listening too can also relate. I mean, it's designed specifically to be addictive. I mean, that's how they designed the app. I mean, that's why they include the, you know, the like buttons and the like counts and all the stuff. Like, it's specifically designed to give you those hits of dopamine, so you come back time and time again. And yeah, it is interrupting. I mean, it's what came to a head for me was, I mean, like you said, you only have so much time on Earth, and you know, I got 2 kids, 6 and 4, and, you know, it was just, there were times where instead of paying attention to them, I was paying attention to my damn phone. And it just, you know, and it was something that, you know, it's bad when you recognize it in yourself. But, you know, it really came to a head when my wife even confronted me about it and said, hey, you know, your kids are starving for your attention and you're, you know, looking at your phone. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a huge wake-up call. I mean, I'm at work all day, and I come home, and I only get to see them for a couple hours before we have to get them ready for bed to go to school the next day. So it's like, you know, in a 24-hour period, you only get to see your kids a very short amount of time. And, you know, they're young, and these are the formative years and the time that I really need to be spending the most time with them. So that was kind of what I was struggling with around the time, again, that I saw the post that you made, and it just really struck a chord with me. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I think it can be used as a tool. It can be used as something that's constructive and informative, but you can't let it get its claws in you and just control you. And that's what it's designed to do. So.
Well, let me give you some examples on how I use social media now, right, in a way that is positive. Because I do think, like anything else, and Nick Schiffer with NS Builders, you know, he's somebody I remember DMing with a while back on this very subject. And he felt strongly that it's kind of up to everybody's own individual person and responsibility on how they handle social media, and that, like, if you're handling it poorly, like, it's on you. And you know, Nick, I think you're right. And so, you know, I'm not handling it poorly anymore, thank goodness. Mm-hmm. And I took responsibility and accountability for my actions, right? Like, I was wrong with how I was handling it. For a while, I became imbalanced. It became an addiction. You know, I've never really been addicted to anything, but for me, I am very, like, I don't know if I'm going to throw out the word OCD, but I have powers of extreme focus. And I've learned how to channel those powers really well. But when I was focusing on social media, I mean, it was a lot of time. So what I do now, the changes that I've made are kind of go like this. Number one, I started doing a little bit of reading up on social media addiction and, you know, kind of where we're at with it in 2024. And something cool that I saw immediately that kind of like sparked my mind was that people are getting tired of all the highly produced social media. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Cause like, I hate doing that shit anyway. Right.
Yeah, right.
Unless it's like something, again, fun, like an artistic thing that like I'm getting into, then like that's kind of different. And like, I'm enjoying it, but ideally like that's not something that's just like going on to no end. So what people are longing for is the real stuff. So just stuff where just people just get on and like they're themselves. And also what I spoke about in that, you know, video that you saw was my own personal battle with like self-confidence and like, you know, worrying too much about how I look or do I look perfect enough and all these things, right? So like all those things, you know, we all have our own personal struggles. And for me, like, yeah, I think sometimes I would worry too much about how I looked or how my hair looked or something like that. And so it's something I really have been going out of my way, including like on the way over here. I was like, yeah, I'm just don't give a shit how my hair looks. Like, yeah, it's something's out of place. Like, awesome. Like, good. Yeah. Good. That's how I'm going to be now. Like, I'm just not going to worry about stuff like that anymore because it is silly. And so I think that ultimately is what people are looking for on social media. They're wanting people to just be themselves. They're wanting it real again, especially now with all this AI infiltration of everything, right? Like you get on, you don't even know what AI is, you know, and what's not. So like everything again has become so honed in to kind of attack us. And, you know, it's like our intuition is really the only remedy to all this artificial intelligence, to all these deep fakes and everything. Something I've seen and visualized for a long time. The answer is going to be intuition. The human intuition is going to improve as a result of all this AI artificial stuff. We're going to have to adapt via intuition. So I would say people are getting more in tune and they are realizing like, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. Oh, that's real. I'm interested. I want to watch that. What's the real person doing? Oh, cool. That is neat. Okay, great. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So the bottom line is you just don't have to worry about making your videos all perfect. You don't have to worry about doing all the editing or all the fancy stuff. Nobody really cares. They just want you to get in front of the camera and just be real with them for a moment. And if you can actually like all I do is I just look at opportunities where I'm like, ooh, that's like, this is some good shit. Like I've kind of figured something out. Like I've been honing this idea for a few years now. And like, I think I got this figured out now. Like, awesome. Like, okay, I'm going to now share this with some people and I bet you they're going to be pretty into it too. Yeah. And so I will shoot multiple takes, right? Like, but I don't do any edits anymore or anything, but I will sit there. Like I did some video right before I came here and I probably shot like 5 takes, maybe 6 takes of the same video. Each one was like a minute or something. And, you know, you're trying to hit 90 seconds if you want it or less if you want it to be on a reel, right? And you know, I've tried and experimented a lot with just not doing the reels and just doing posts that are longer now on Instagram, which everybody says, don't do that. And like some of those actually do really well, even though I don't think the algorithms really push that.
Right.
But the bottom line is for me, I just shoot a few takes until I like the message kind of shared in the way I was like intending to share it. And then I just straight up put it out. And I'm done. And I don't go back and look at all the stats or all the stuff anymore at all. I just kind of let it be and I just walk away. Yeah. And I say, here you go. And if it does good, it does good. If it doesn't do good, it doesn't do good. I don't really care that much. I put something out there. I maintain a little bit of professional relevance. I maintain some of the flow and energy that I've built up with my name and reputation on social media. Hopefully I've helped a bunch of people, right? Hopefully I'm doing all those things. And so that's kind of how I use social media now. If you ask me to time like my social media use on any given day now, I would say typically it's 2 minutes or less.
Wow. That's great.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's, man. And it's funny, like what you said about, you know, because social media like trains, you know, people's behavior over time. And, you know, like people struggle with, you know, their attention spans, right? And if you're forced to look at something that's over 90 seconds, it's like, you know, move on. You know, it's like
it's the fast food mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything has to be immediate, quick, and it's changing like this social behavior, and everything has to be on demand now. And I kind of like the longer format things. You get to sort of dive into ideas a little further, a little bit more in depth.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, I don't want to be slave to this social media way of thinking where everything just has to be immediate, and I just, sometimes I just like to sit without my phone, just sit and just be alone. You know what I mean? Like it's odd. You look up and you look around, everybody's looking down on their phone and they're consuming something all the time. And so I try not to be that. I try not to be that guy who's just all constantly on his phone.
Right.
And just sit and be in the moment and look at people. People watching is also pretty fun. No, I that's awesome that you've been able to curb your social media use down to, what'd you say, 2 minutes? That's phenomenal.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what,
awesome.
those 2 minutes feel like a chore when I'm doing it. I just get on and it's kind of like, is there anything that I really need to like give somebody a shout out back or something on? Maybe a client shared their project and like they've, shouted us out and like, should I share it? Like
right.
that's pretty much what I'm doing. I have really made a change in my life for the positive and I guess I'm just going to take a moment to kind of share like what that change is for me, because it's beyond just doing no more than 2 minutes of social media a day. Like I have made a pretty revolutionary change in my life that has been going super well for me. And I do not feel like it's a temporary change.
Okay.
And that is going back towards that slow life that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I no longer watch sports on TV, right? Like I played sports all my life and sports used to always be in the background. I played fantasy football with my buddies and, you got like all this stuff. And so I will do things like that on a social level. Like if there's a game that we all want to watch, like the Longhorns are on and we're going to hang out at somebody's house or whatever, like, and I'll totally enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be a robot or like, some completely sterile person that's like, is so extreme. I don't want to be extreme. I'm looking for balance, right?
Right.
But I'm also not going to let that little glass box guide my life anymore,
absolutely.
Right? Like I want to be in charge of my life, and that glass box can just kind of be something in the background for like every once in a while. So I have taken away the glass box pretty much almost completely from my life. And so again, it's no, I used to be really informed on all the YouTube stuff too and everything. I mean, I can tell you all kinds of stuff about everything that I've learned about on YouTube, but again, there might be moments in time where that becomes important. Like yesterday, I needed to learn how to clean my pool filter out myself. So of course I watched a YouTube video, right? I watched
it's a great resource.
7-8 minute YouTube video and I learned how to do that. And I knocked out cleaning my pool filter and I felt like a freaking man. And my husband was very proud of me. And that's how it should be, right? But I'm not getting on like learning about all the politics or like, whatever. Like I've realized that being less informed about all that stuff is actually like way more healthy and also just kind of like how unimportant all that stuff actually was in applying itself to my life.
It's all just garbage anyway.
It's garbage. So every time my wife like picks up the phone now and looking at Facebook or anything else, like, and I'm not saying she has any addiction or anything, but
sure.
I'm always just like, you're looking at that trash? You're looking at that trash? That's what it is, trash, right? So I have gotten entirely off of it. And guess what the result of that is? Like, take a guess.
You have more time to, I don't know. You have more time to do anything else. I mean, you have more time to be with your family, right? You have more time to.
Yeah. I mean, you basically, it's unbelievable what happens. So you get off all the social media, you get off all the television, and you no longer pick up your phone and look at stuff all the time in all those moments, right? The phone just kind of chills, stays away or whatever.
Yeah,
you're
no longer
phone as a communication device.
You're no longer filling the void with your phone. I mean, I guess in reality there is no longer a void. You just go from one moment to the next. Like there is nothing. There's no phone in between to interrupt anything.
You do, and it's so freaking peaceful, right? And it's so fulfilling. And you can really focus on things, like this world, like you were talking about, you're looking around, like this world is so fantastic. Just looking up at the sun and the moon and the star and the skies and the clouds and the people and the grass. Like it's incredible, right? And so you just become like in the moment. You're always here, you know, like that Be Here Now book. Like you're always here right now. Yeah. And you realize none of that shit was ever important. And you realize you got ripped off by some charlatan who was trying to steal your time. Mm-hmm. But you moved on because you're not going backwards with it. And you're just here now. And then you're like, man, I have this abundance of free time. Like I can do anything I want. Right. Like this is amazing. Like I want to clean out my garage. I want to get more organized with my desk. I want to make sure my truck console's clean. And so for me, like I just started having like an incredible amount of time to work out, to be with my family. Yeah. And, you know, like frankly, I realized like that's almost all I really wanted to do in my free time. Oh, to read. I started reading again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So reading had gone away from me. You know, my dad's a writer and he's read almost like every book you can imagine. My wife reads all the time. And I felt like such a dumbass, like, cause I just never read books. And I thought I had in my head like, oh, I'm on this new way with the video. You can actually consume so much more information, so much more rapidly with all the video. And that's true to a degree. But it is a different vibe and it's a different energy. And, you know, like now when my kids, if they ever have like YouTube videos on, you know, there's always this like aggressive voice on kids' YouTube videos. And like now that's what I associate like every YouTube video almost with, because it's just, I know they're just trying to grab your attention and grab your attention. And they're trying to put together this, you know, recipe for grabbing your attention and getting the hits and getting the likes and all that. And so like, I'm just so over that shit. And so now I just have all this time. And so, like, I just started putting it into being a freaking badass in life again, you know, not one that like I wanted to be and I wanted to project to everybody. No, like a real one, you know, like a real authentic badass that's like really good at all my shit that I do. Like, don't mess with me, dude. Like I'm ultra disciplined with everything I do and I'm going to do it exceptionally well. And I know that's going to translate into success in my professional life, in my personal life, and really in association with me for everybody else around me.
That's freaking badass, dude. And man, you're getting me fired up. Everything, yeah. I agree. And it's gone to the point where I almost want to get a lock box, you know, for my phone and just lock it away, hide the key. And did you see that? I think I sent you a product that I saw. It was called the Brick, where you're able to basically lock your phone. Like certain apps, like all social media apps, you can basically lock it until you unlock it with the key. And I was like, man, that sounds great. I think I'm going to get me one. So that way it's removing that temptation altogether. Like, you know, it's not going to be available when you need it. And then, you eventually learn to get along without it, you know?
That's cool. But I'll tell you what, on somebody on the other side of it right now, I'm just going to say, what ultimately you have to come to is that it's all in your mind. Mm-hmm. You really have to come to that. And you are the lock. You are the lock. You don't need to buy some new product or some new phone. You need to have personal fucking discipline, right?
That's true.
And that's just hey, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to do that. And when that sense comes for me to grab it, I'm not going to do it because I have priorities and I have focus. And that is the king of all locks. I'm not knocking anybody's attempt to get off of something, right? So like if, you know, cigarettes or whatever, you need something in between to kind of, more power to you. Do whatever you need to do. But I'm just telling you again, from somebody on the other side, I didn't do any of that. I just cold turkey realized I have my priorities out of order and I am going to fix it. And I am going to be true and honor this statement to myself. And if I break that statement to myself, I'm becoming imbalanced and a shell of myself and not who and what I want to be. And I'm not going to exist that way.
Well, you're absolutely right. I agree with that. Well said. Well, let's, transition a little bit. What do you do to stay in shape? You said you every Wednesday you play football?
I do. Yeah. I've been playing football on the same football team for, 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 years with a lot of the same guys. Some of them have, moved or, had injuries or whatever. And it's just flag football. It's not tackle football or anything.
Sure.
But there's a couple guys that still are at it with me. I'm 43. And so, a couple guys that are similar ages, a few that were a little bit younger maybe when they started, and they're still at it. So I'd say like a good handful of the guys are like old school, and then the other guys are kind of newer. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I love everything about football. Football's always been super good to me. I've always been really good at it. And all those things are still true to this day. And honestly, I'm just getting better, and it's getting more enjoyable, and I'm learning more. I'll kind of parlay that into my new and improved workout routine for me.
Yeah.
Okay. That I think is kind of fun. Is I have this Venice Beach style setup. I think maybe you've heard that from me, in my backyard. So I do have a membership to Gold's Gym. Like, it's, just down the road. It's pretty nice Gold's. I like it and everything. But I love being outside, as I mentioned earlier. Right? Yeah. So especially anytime when the warmer weather comes in, cold weather, maybe I'm not going to do this, but the warmer weather comes in, I just want to work out outside. So I set up everything that you would need. I've got rings. I've got, a nice pull-up bar that's also doubles as, and I kind of like built all this stuff out myself, like come from scratch. Yeah. That doubles as a squat rack, a bench press, got all the nice outdoor weights, and stuff like that. I got, you name it, like I pretty much have it there, and I got it nice and organized and looks good and everything. And so for a long time, I was going out and it was kind of like a first thing in the morning, or, we have a home office that we use a lot. And so sometimes we'd just be kind of intermingling like my mornings with like my workout and my coffee and my emails and, this that, and the other. And it was cool, and it was working pretty well. But I am on a new routine that I am just really thriving off of. And that one involves, basically waking up in the morning and just going directly, like taking my kids to school. So my kids are like on transfer, so they don't have the school bus or anything. Okay. And then my youngest, so I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. Wow. And so the 9 and 7-year-old, they go to a school where it's like all Spanish immersion. They speak Spanish all day. And that was really important to us because we want them to participate in the Latin culture and kind of take in what it's like to live in another country. And we travel, them speak Spanish, and it's just something we thought was very important. So we drive them to a school where they get to speak Spanish all day and learn in Spanish. And I gladly do that. So I take them in the mornings, and then I take my daughter to her Montessori school, and she loves that too. And so I drop them off, and then I go to my projects, right? And I have a nice team, and I have, a superintendent and assistant superintendent, and I just kind of, line everybody out, and I go act as the quarterback out there. And I just make sure everything is in order the way I want, and that it feels great, and that I'm in tune, and I'm not having to receive my messages virtually and respond to text messages on things I can't just see, that I could just really just harness so much easier if I was just freaking there. Right. Yeah. So now every day I'm there. I'm at the project as early as I can be. And I stay as late as I need to be. Usually on Wednesdays, like I'm there all day long. The other days I can kind of maybe leave around lunchtime need be. It kind of depends on the day. Yeah. But I'm just attacking it first thing. I'm not being distracted by the workout at all. And then, get home, and then it's all about family. Like, it's all about family for me. Now, that's what I've realized, is something that, is just crystal clear to me. Like, I just am all about my family. Like, I want to soak in every aspect of it, of not just my kids, but also my wife. Yeah, absolutely. I want to be with them in all of these moments. I want, like previously I mentioned, I'd watch sports and stuff like that. And sometimes I'd miss out on maybe the weekend kid birthday parties. Cause I don't know, I don't want to go to another kid birthday party. And again, it just kind of felt like a chore or whatever. Yeah. Now it's a pleasure to me. I realize, you know what? That's an opportunity for me to be with my family, for me to go interact with the other people that they hang out with. And life has just blossomed for me as a result, and everything's just become so exciting and pleasurable, and just the interaction with these other humans. Because again, I no longer have the distraction of the little glass box, And so with that, guess what? I am just drawn to talk with other people and interact, and it's just so fun. I just feel so vibrant and so alive. And so anyway, it's all family. And then we do the dinner, maybe we're riding bikes or going to the park or whatever. We seriously limit our kids' television as well, television games, absolutely. All that. Yep. So they kind of have a chore list that they go through. And then maybe they get 1 hour, maybe. But we use that also as a punishment too. Hey, if you don't do this, then you're going to lose TV. So they lose their stuff quite a bit.
We have that same model. Yeah,
okay,
we do
great.
The same thing.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And so then we do the dinner together as a family. We involve the kids with all the aspects of the cooking and everything, right?
Yeah,
we try to teach them the way of how to do everything. And then it gets to be, time to put them down. And we sometimes divide and conquer. A lot of times I'm putting my son down and my wife puts down our daughters. And so we read books to them. Typically is how we do it. And then, once they're asleep, usually that's when I wake up, or not wake up. I just, I get up out of the bed and then I'll go and like do chores around my house and stuff. I'll do all the dishes and, make sure that everything's nice and tidy for the next day. My wife's usually doing, her own chores or her own thing, for a little while. And then my wife typically just goes to bed a little bit earlier than I do. And I've kind of attempted to go to bed at the same time as her. And I'd say, that's kind of around somewhere between 8 and 9, kind of depending.
Wow.
Which is very early, right?
It is early.
So I tried that out for a while, but what ultimately that has led to for me is I just do my chores and stuff, and then I go get my workout. Right?
Really?
So that's when I'm working out. So I'm working out
that late?
So I work out at night now.
Wow.
And my workout is freaking amazing. Like, because I got all the outdoor stuff, what have like become drawn to is working out in the total darkness, just like in the moonlight.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it's,
That's
I know that
wild.
sounds wild.
It does sound wild.
It is awesome, right? So it's super peaceful.
Really?
I'll put on I usually put on frequency music, like, it kind of sounds like some shamanic type music.
Okay.
But they have all these different frequencies that guide different manifestations and stuff like that in your life.
Okay.
And so I will put on this frequency music and I'll try to get to an ultra high vibration. And it's just me and nature and the moon. And I will go super hard working out. And, usually I can get my workouts pretty efficiently. It kind of depends on which workouts I'm doing that day. And I know in that one video I put out, like with my workout, I say, I like to make sure I get at least 3 exercises with at least 3, reps of those, or like 8 reps, but 3 sets of those exercises.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my bare minimum that I hold myself to. But I mean, of late, like I am able to get like a good 5 or 6 different exercises.
Wow.
And like, I'm like just getting stronger and stronger. And I'll get into diet in a second if you want to, but, I'm just like, man, I just feel on fire out there. It just is so good. And I'm just feeling so awesome. And like, I just kind of work myself to physical exhaustion, right? Like those last ones.
Yeah.
And I make sure, I don't leave anything out there. And during this whole time, I've had like my sauna on for like the whole time. Like the moment I start the dishes and stuff, I'll kick on the sauna that's in my garage. And I'll get it crank it up to like 160, 165. Yeah. And by the time I get done with that workout, it's like, all right, now it's time for the sauna. So then I go cruise in the sauna. I bring my frequency music over there and I start doing manifestation and meditation and I got the red light therapy on me as well. Like the whole 9, dude. And I'm just in there in this chamber for like a good 20 minutes or so.
Really?
And then I move up to the shower, which is like, we have this really cool upstairs office that we created out of our attic space.
Oh, okay.
Just out of the old school, 1979 attic space. We got 650 square feet of amazing like office, kitchen. It's like a small apartment really is what it is.
Oh, cool.
With a really dope bathroom. And we have multiple skylights everywhere. And so I have 2 skylights in the bathroom shower area. So I just maintain the darkness for the whole time.
Really?
So then I get in there.
So you're still in the moonlight.
I'm still in the moonlight and
That's
I'm doing
cool.
my shower and I do my shower like super hot when I start. And then I finish it with total cold, for like the last few minutes or whatever. And then I get out and then just kind of like butter my whole body up with coconut oil and go to bed. And like, dude, like I'm ready to just lay down. And, I wake up in the morning and like, I have so much energy. It's crazy, like a ridiculous amount of energy. Like it's unbelievable how much energy I have. Like I feel like I can just keep going and going.
Is that from shifting and doing your workouts late at night, or what do you think that's the culmination of everything? Or
I think it has to do with multiple variables. I think one, I'm just going to throw out there the not being distracted with the glass box.
Yeah.
I think that one has really helped me because now like my mind is at peace. I'm at ease. I no longer feel conflicted with my goals and my movements and all that. Also, I have been able to just knock shit out now. Like before things would take a long time and I realized because I like go back to my phone and I do this on my phone or whatever. Now it's like the only reason I'm touching my phone is like to change the music or something like that. Like that's it. So there's just never any physical or mental distraction.
Yeah.
And that has led to much more energy, and be also like, I know now I can get stuff done. Like I can just bam, 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 bam. And then sure, I think just the consistency of working out, right? I also think getting a lot of sunshine. So I definitely in the morning, like I will wake up and I'll kind of bounce on the trampoline. I have a trampoline outside and I'll do this at night too, but I'll wake up and I will like kind of gaze at the sun. I'll do like what's called sun gazing. There's supposed to be all these spiritual intrinsic values to gazing at the sun, all this information that it shares with you. The sun's super powerful, right? Like we take it for granted that the sun is there every morning when we get up. But I mean, like, how amazing is that? You know? And did y'all know that there's multiple other suns in the solar system that are like, there's like way more, and there's super giant ones and stuff. So I mean, like,
they make the sun look tiny.
Yeah, this thing's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd say just kind of like making sure that I get lots of sunshine. I do, and like when I do walk dogs and stuff, you know, I usually go with my shirt off and everything. And it's not because I'm trying to show off. Like I'm legitimately trying to get like as much sun as I can. I go to the pool and you know that sort of thing. I seriously think getting the sun is super helpful to you. And then my eating is really, really good too. And I do a lot of it. So we all have different body types and everything. And so for a long time, I would fast in the morning, and then, you know, I do my coffee with all this cool, like, you know, different types of mushrooms and blah, 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 and it, creatine and everything. But, for me, I realized like my body type is not one that really does well with the fasting in the morning. Like I literally need to eat as much as I possibly can.
I'm right there. Like I wake up hungry. I'm just like, I have to get something.
Yeah. So that's what I do now. And then, you know, I did transition diet too a few years ago. I'd say like maybe going on 2 years now, but my dad was vegan like my whole life. And so I was never like strict anything growing up, but I did kind of, you know, experiment with different diets, including being vegetarian. And then I went vegetarian for 8 years, like pretty much the first 8 years of my first daughter's life.
Yeah.
And I thought I really liked it. And this is not in any way to say that it's not the most healthy. And for some people, you know, scientifically, it can be considered the most healthy diet, right? There's these biohacker people that are ultra, you know, millionaires and billionaires, and, you know, some of them are only vegan, right? And so like, that's what they think. But for me, I started to get super skinny on the vegan diet or on the vegetarian diet. And so I got COVID, you know, like one time, and then I fasted for like 2 or 3 days. And out of that, like, I just wanted nothing but meat and a burger. And so out of that, I became non-vegetarian again. And ever since then, you know, I've gotten to a really happy place with my diet. And, you know, the reason why I became vegetarian, just first and foremost, is because I just didn't want to kill animals. Like that was it. It wasn't about really health or any other thing. I just did not want to remove life from this earth unnecessarily. And, you know, I felt like if I had the ability not to, and I did, there was something kind of cruel or wrong. So I definitely see all those lenses when talking about diet. And I'm actually very sensitive to people that view that, because I view that too.
Okay.
But, you know, I also saw a lot of contradictions in that mindset that are out there, such as that, you know, when you just host a large field, how many animals get killed just with the, you know, like the machines that go and actually produce, like, you know, break down all of the wheat or, you know, whatever, right? Like there's all these countless animals, and then it gets to be like size and proportion of animal, and like, what is more important? Is it something tiny and it gets killed? It's not as important as something that's large. And, you know, so I'd say for each of those decisions, like that's a personal decision, but I'm going to be non-judgmental either way. But when I do say, you know, grace over my meal, like I do absolutely appreciate the fallen animals that, you know, I'm eating, and me and my family talk about that. And, you know, I think that's very important to keep that in mind, and definitely not ever waste life. Like, you know, life's super precious, and respect it. Right. But I really have just gotten into cow, like grass-fed cow. Yep. Like, love it. Like all the way with pretty much everything that I eat. We've kind of collectively as a household removed gluten, and we eat almost exclusively organic. And, you know, I firmly believe that the glyphosate in our food has really messed with a lot of people's, you know, intestinal system, and that a lot of people are not necessarily like somebody that has a gluten intolerance. It's that wheat, they use the glyphosate as a desiccant to dry out wheat after the harvest. And
I
so
didn't
not
know that.
only are they using it, like the Monsantos of the world, using it in this way where they have, created these genetically modified plants that are able to live just being drenched in glyphosate so they can kill everything else around it,
Yeah.
right? Which is kind of what they've done.
Right.
Not only that, but when those crops get done, the wheat specifically in this
Yeah.
country, they are then drowning the wheat in glyphosate to dry it out.
I did not know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's crazy.
So because of that, I avoid any wheat that is non-organic, because at least that little organic sticker tells you that hopefully they have not dried out that wheat as a desiccant using glyphosate. And
Yeah.
again, there's lots of lawsuits with glyphosate, but some people, don't believe it. So I'm not trying to tell you like believe it or not believe it. But me personally, I do believe that it's a huge problem in the United States.
Yeah.
And also, all of the highly processed food that we eat, and
Yeah.
and all the fillers and all the cheap stuff and all
Yep.
the colored additives. And, I could go on. But if you get it, you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. Yeah, we try to stay away from that as much as we can. I mean, we're not perfect, but yeah, I agree. We try to eat the grass-fed beef. We try to get the things that are organic and just that are not highly processed or just have a lot of crap in them. Like the colors and
Right.
Yeah, that's important. And without getting into politics, I do hope that what's this guy Kennedy? It just he seems like this is a fight he's willing to take on. And it's something, and it's something that like nobody seems to want to touch and talk about. And it's like I really appreciate that this is something that he's wanting to fight and try to improve, and and just he's just putting a light in this dark place and saying, bringing attention to it and saying like, look, this is what's going on in the food industry. Like, we're poisoning ourselves.
And not only are we poisoning ourselves, we're poisoning our children.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why, to me, again, without really telling y'all, like, I look at my neighbors with the red and the blue sign. I don't really want any of that shit in my yard because I think it's very divisive. But like, I believe in protecting the children. And that's what I feel like he is attempting to do too. And he's drawing a lot of attention to the hard data that exists that is showing that we are one of the unhealthiest countries in the world. And you can go on. It's the pharmaceuticals, it's the food industry, it's big everything.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to hold big everything accountable, and he's trying to bring things back to basics and back to nature. And, you can believe in God or not believe in God, but I mean, we are so miraculous how we walk around and how, air turns into energy and turns into blood and so on and so like, it's unbelievable.
It's
like
a miracle.
We are perfect.
Yeah.
We are perfect in every single way. So to have the audacity to think that we can just like tinker and mess with this perfection and like, we got it all figured out, we're so smart. Like, that is so incredibly naive.
I agree.
So
I
I love what he is doing, and I love the Make America Healthy Again movement, and I am all for it. And that is the one sign I would put in my yard.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So outside of that, another big find for me is I found this protein recently that I love that I just kind of want to share about. It is it's like called Pure Paleo. I have no association with this brand whatsoever.
Okay.
But it is a beef broth it's a bone broth from beef protein. And they use this electrolysis process, and it gets around 30 grams of protein per scoop. But it's not like an added protein or anything. It is just bone broth. That's it.
That's
and it's
wild.
all from grass-fed beef.
So
I'm just
I'm
slamming those things all day long. Like, I'll do like 3 to 5 of those a day. And for my body type, that has really filled the void that I needed from a protein perspective. And that's kind of like what I carry with me, like during the day, if, I need to get some additional protein.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, at home, it's just kind of like either we're grilling or cooking on the cast iron. We do a bunch of rice and, sometimes beans, or, just, we do a leafy green or a vegetable or whatever. But usually it's kind of like some sort of rice, a vegetable, and some really good meat. Like, my wife slaved away yesterday going to Whole Foods. Whole Foods is probably one of the best places to go buy meat.
Yeah.
You can buy all the grass-fed stuff. You can buy the stuff that is, ethically sourced, which we really believe in as well. And you can get some incredible meat. And so that's the diet these days. And
That's great.
lots of good butter as well. And
I love butter.
Yeah, so I've never felt better. Like my joints, my mind, my body, my spirit, like it all feels awesome and aligned. And I just am at this really incredible place, enjoying the slow life with, my priorities in line again of my own self and my own balance and spirituality, and then my family, which is the most important thing to me in my world. And then next to that, my business and being part of something that's great and epic and really helping a lot of people and bring a lot of value to a lot of people's lives. And then outside of that, trying to spend some time with my friends and my family and having great conversation. And then, maybe catching a good book here and there and getting an incredible workout. That's
phenomenal, Doug. And I can't think of a better way to end. So I appreciate your time. However, I did challenge you to a push-up contest. How many push-ups can you do? I want to figure it out.
I have no idea. I haven't done any push-ups in a while.
Really?
So, yeah, I'm going to have to pass on the push-up contest. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What do you have, chest today or something?
No,
you don't do like chest?
I don't mind. I don't mind doing push-ups. No, I mean I do. I mix it up. I don't mind doing push-ups. I just haven't been doing them lately. I'm sure I can do a lot of push-ups. My first ever time, I was with my wife out of the park a few years ago, and I guess like some sort of aerobic group or whatever she's in, but I had never done planks before. And I won the plank contest out there. So I bet I could knock out a bunch of push-ups, but it's getting close to time to go pick up kiddo. So I'm going to have to pass on the push-up competition.
I won't keep
sorry
you
about
then.
that.
No, I appreciate it. Well, maybe next time, Doug, but I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.